Okay guys, so we're gonna go over our trades today. Today we traded a total of 5 stocks. We traded some of them that were moving up pre-market and some that were hitting the high of day scanner. Okay, so here on CREG, we'll take a look at this one. This one, it popped up out of nowhere. So it was trading at $3. It popped up. So this is the 1 minute chart. Well, let's jump into the 5 minutes so you can see the bigger picture. Okay, so from $3, it started popping up on this candle. It made a nice move from 3 all the way up to a high of 534. It pulled back down to Vwap. We did take a trade pre-market where these orange arrows are at. We'll jump into the 1 minute so we can see it in more detail. Here we can clearly see that the stock was very hot. I mean, it definitely had momentum. So from 3 popped up here to 389. It pulled back, and I jumped in here at $4. At 396, that's where somebody called it in the chat room, and I jumped in here around $4, and I sold up around 415. Nice little profit. I did sell too soon. Stock continued to go higher all the way up to a high of 534. So from 4 to 534 would have been a nice, very nice trade. But the way the level 2 was trading, it was not as clean. So it looked like there was some sellers, there was some resistance, basically telling me that it's not gonna go, but apparently it did. There were more buyers than there were sellers that pushed the stock up, which was a very impressive move. It was clearly strong, stayed above VWAP. Finally here, we had this false break on the 1 minute for a micro pullback, and it might have trapped some traders. And once they saw that it was not breaking out, they immediately stopped out, and possibly shorts took over on this trade as well and jumped in it. So from 520 down to 450. Nice little pullback here. It did break VWAP on this one. I did take another trade out of the gates. 450 was the high. I wasn't too sure. Yesterday we had a stock that failed pretty close to this setup here. It failed out of the gates. It flushed down about, I don't know, 20-30 cents, and then it popped up, and I was afraid that was going to happen, but I was kind of just watching this for possibly a break of 450, a move higher up to $5, 525. It did pull back down to 20 cents that I was thinking it was going to do. So I hit a low of 430. I could have added at 430 down here, but I ended up not, and I decided to add whenever the break of 450. So by the time it broke 450, it was already pretty extended from that level. It hit a high of 458. I got out, basically break even on that trade. As you can see here, my orange arrow where I got in, the orange arrow on this side where I got out. So unfortunately, well, I mean, there's nothing bad with it being a break-even trade. A lot better than it being a red trade. So, but what I could have done differently here was jump in on the pullback down to 430 for the bounce back up to 450, possibly even higher. I did not do it that way, but it was a breakout or bailout trade basically. So it did not do what I had thought it was going to do right away, so I bailed out, and I'm glad I did because it failed. I mean, it dropped all the way down to 403, from 450 down to 403. I'm glad I was not holding that on that drop. That was a 50-cent drop. And then it looks like I took another trade over here. I'll tell you why I took this trade. But it would have been better if I would have showed you the other trade or the other setup that led me to take this trade. So on this one, what I was looking at was a potential Vwap break. So I got in for a 2-in-1 setup, basically a break of this candle here. This high is 396, and potential Vwap tap up to 425. Yeah, I did buy a little bit extended. The correct entry, I guess, would have been at 390. And so on this candle here, I was waiting for it to break this high of 396, break that high 396, and then squeeze up. I jumped in at $4, which was a pretty okay entry, it would have been nicer to get in a little bit sooner for this pop up, but I got in at 4, and I was waiting for the move up for it to break 4 and then squeeze up and tap Vwap, this orange dotted line, which it did tap it, but it was two candles down the road. It hit a high of 433, Vwap was 424, so the goal was met on that setup. But I didn't wait that long for it. I got in at 4. I was kind of quick to take either bail out or breakout because I was in a little bit high, 10 cents higher than the correct entry. There was a lot of buying at $4, but this there was some hidden some hidden sellers because it would not break. There was somebody putting up a wall basically here at $4 and they could not get past that. So I'm like, well, the last time that I tried to hold through this, it failed. So I ended up cutting it loose, and it was like another break-even trade for it to just come back up to 415 and break out. But it was a slow grind. I mean, it was a very slow grind. Slowly grinded up to 415, and then here it pulled back down all the way to 395. And here on this one, this could have been, I was watching it here at 415. I was watching to jump in here, but I was like, well, it kind of struggled to get past it. I doubt it'll move. It did end up squeezing up to 433. Would have been a nice little trade there, but I hesitated, and that's what it is. That's what happened on that one. Which I'm not disappointed because I'm sticking to my rules of breakout or bailout. Yes, I may miss some opportunities, but at the same time, some of those stocks that fail, I mean, they can fail pretty nasty after it can't break through a level. So that was that one. We'll jump into the next trade, which was MTP. I'll try to run through this pretty quick. MTP, it looked a lot like yesterday's trade on NTN. NTN was very choppy. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then so I was kind of expecting the same thing on this one on MTP, and it wasn't very clean, to be honest. It was kind of choppy. Almost everything was choppy today, but this one was, in fact, it was choppy. But here I'll tell you why. This is why I had jumped in on the other stock at the place where I did jump in, because this one made a very nice move right there. So this is identical to the other setup. And that's the thing about trading stocks. I mean, the charts are the same. The setups are the same. You can apply a setup to 100 different stocks. I mean, you want them to be priced at the right price, the right flow, right volume, little stuff, little criteria. But as far as setups, they're pretty much the same. This one, I was waiting for a break of 375, and I was watching this stock too, but I hesitated. So this was a break of this 375 point, this level here. As you can see here on this candle, it hit 374. It pulled back, and then on the squeeze up, it broke 375, broke that level, that candle high for a micro pullback. So this is a 2-in-1. Break this apex point, and then a micro pullback. Squeezed up from 375 up to a high of 433. I jumped in on the a little small micro pullback on this candle, hit 425, and it pulled back down to around $4, and I jumped in around 407, 405, sold around 415, 420. Nice little 10-15 cent profit on that one. I could have held, but it was already very extended, so it was definitely risky. It's risky buying them this high because they could easily come back down and flush, and you just really don't want that. But that was a nice little trade on that one. Let's see if we took any more trades on MTP. No, it looks like that was it on MTP. Next was EBON. EBON was another very tricky stock. It was up and down, up and down. So here you can see that it moved pre-market, squeezed from 475 up to $7, pulled back, Vwap, popped back up, pulled back, rode Vwap until it broke down. And out of the gates, just like I was watching this because it reminded me so much of, crap, I don't remember, I think it was BFRA yesterday, the different stock. Out of the gates, it kind of opened lower and it squeezed up. So this one opened low at 560, squeezed up to 640, and it halted. It halted going up at 642. It resumed, and I jumped in here. I almost put an order to buy at because I had a pretty strong feeling that this was gonna pop up. I thought about putting an order at 650. You know, as soon as it resumed from the halt, buy at 650 and squeeze up. I ended up not, because it was just, I felt that today I didn't want to take that kind of risk. You know, I could have easily seen this come back down to Vwap 620 and then just fell. You know, so I just watched it on the resumption. It resumed at 650. I could have punched the order there to buy from at 650, but I decided to wait till more volume came in. The volume did come in, and I got in around 660. Ended up paying a little bit more for it, but I just wanted confirmation on my trade, and I sold up here around 670. So nice little 10 cents. Unfortunately, it did not hold up, and I'm glad I sold where I did, because this thing flushed down hard. So this right here is basically what I was afraid of that was going to happen if I was to buy out of the halt resumption. Like if I would have placed an order and automatically got filled as soon as the market opened. You know, this flush down all the way down to 594. So from 650 down to 594, it's just, to me, that's kind of like a gamble. And unless the stocks are popping up left and right, making huge moves, then that's the time to do something like that. But right now, the market has kind of slowed down, so it would have been pretty risky. So that was that trade. And let me check to see if there's any more. It looks like that was it on EBON, and Flux is the last one. Sorry, I took quite a few trades today. Flux. So Flux, this stock was a bottom bounce. It pretty impressive the way how much it dropped. So it was from $8 trading yesterday, it dropped all the way down to $4. And so as soon as this popped up on the scanner, I was like, whoa, this thing has potential, from possibly 450 all the way back up to 8. But what happened was there was I believe it was a secondary offering down here at $4. So most likely these stocks just trade around this range where the offering was at. But I kind of just was impatient, and I just jumped in this one without really, putting much thought into it. I was thinking potential instead of risk, and that's always risky. Don't want to do that. Don't want to trade. Whenever you catch yourself trading like that, it's time to pull back and just call it a day. But anyways, here it popped up on the scanner, 430, and I was analyzing it. I liked it, so I ended up jumping in. Here, let me look at the daily chart. You can see it more clear, the potential. I mean, you had this start from $8, drop all the way down to $4. So definitely, and I think in the future we might see this stock again, because they might come back up a little bit, maybe up to 556, 650. Okay, so here's the 1 minute chart. It popped up on this candle and the scanner hit a high 430. I saw green volume coming in, and I threw my order to buy at 430. It was a dead in the water stock. It did not do anything. It just sat there. So the ask was 433, bid was 430, and I just ended up taking the bid at 430. So it was a break-even trade. Got in at 430, sold at 430. I was disappointed in that one, because that was an impatient trade. Like, I just jumped in there, impulsive trade. Just jumped in there without really thinking about it. So that was it today. Took quite a few trades. Kind of disappointed in that, because I just jumped in there, and should focus more on quality trades rather than quantity. But overall, I'm happy with the way that I traded. As far as my breakout or bailout, that's a rule that I've been trying to follow, is if the stock does not break out immediately, I bail out, because I don't want to be holding it while it flushes down 50 cents or 75 cents. And one thing that we know that worked today was the Vwap breaks. Those were pretty strong. Nothing really was holding support. Usually when the stock would come down to support, it would break it. So that's not I caught that on pretty early in the morning, and that saved me from a few losses. Because I decided not to take the trades, because I knew from previous setups that that setup was not working. So yeah, VWAP breaks is what's strong right now, and micro pullbacks, I would say. Um, Resumptions after halts have not been strong. As we can, that one stock that I went over, it opened, squeezed up maybe 10-15 cents, and then just flushed hard. So we have to be careful with halts on the resumptions. We have to be careful with dip buys on support. Those supports aren't holding. All right, guys, any questions, just let me know.